During a client presentation, my supervisor interrupted me, sneering, "Don't worry, folks. She's just here for decoration." I stood frozen as he grinned and whispered loud enough for everyone to hear, "You know how these diversity hires are." Without a word, I pulled out my backup flash drive, took over the presentation, and watched as the clients turned their chairs away from him toward me. By Monday, his office was empty.
I'm Noel.
I'm 32 and live in Chicago, though I grew up just outside the city in Joliet. I've worked in tech sales for nearly a decade, and I'm used to being the only black woman in the room. That doesn't shock me anymore. What happened during this client pitch, though, that was different. This is the story of the moment I stopped letting things slide, and what happened when I didn't. I got hired at Cortray Solutions 3 years ago. They're not huge mid-size software firm, mostly B2B sales. They focus on data integration tools, cloud systems, that kind of thing. When I joined, I had already done years of client work and had a master's in data systems. But they didn't put me in a senior role. They gave me a mid-level spot and handed the leadership roles to guys with less experience, less education too. I'd speak up in meetings and get cut off. When I did get to talk, they'd act like I was aggressive. But I kept my head down and did the work. I didn't have a choice. Then Dave got hired. Dave Grayson came in as our new director of sales. Late 40s, wore slick suits and always had stories about his golf league. He loved buzzwords, synergy, agile, value add, but never knew what he was talking about. You could tell he just repeated whatever he saw in LinkedIn posts. First time he met me, he looked me up and down and said, "Ah, the diversity when I heard about." I didn't laugh. After that, he made things uncomfortable every chance he got. Called me kiddo. Told people I had a spicy attitude. If I explained a feature to a client, he'd interrupt and rephrase it like I wasn't clear enough. Once I wrote a report and he changed the font and put his name at the top. HR. Useless. I tried to log a complaint after a team meeting where he made a joke about affirmative action hires, and everyone laughed nervously. HR said it was a cultural misunderstanding and moved on. So I started documenting every comment, every slide he stole, every client he talked over me in front of. And then came the Orville pitch. Orville Manufacturing was a huge lead. They ran logistics all over the Midwest and were looking to overhaul their data systems. The potential deal was in the 7 figures, big enough that even corporate was watching. I spent 2 weeks building the presentation. I built a custom demo, tailored their data into a model, even pre-recorded fail-safes in case anything broke. I knew that pitch inside out. The night before, I emailed Dave the final deck. I also put it on a flash drive and saved a version to my own drive just in case. The morning of the meeting, Dave walked in 10 minutes before we had to leave, sipping a Starbucks and checking his phone. "You got the deck?" he asked. "Yeah, I sent it last night," I told him. "Cool. I'll just wing the first half. You jump in during the tech stuff." That wasn't what we agreed on. But I said nothing. We got to the Orville office in Oak Brook. The room had 7 people. 6 men, all older suits. 1 woman looked to be in her 30s, not saying much. Taking notes. They introduced her as Sarah, strategy analyst. I made a mental note. Dave shook hands like he was the mayor, cracked a joke about cutting through the IT jargon, then gestured to me. "This is Noelle. She's the brain behind the scenes. Don't worry, she's just here for decoration." Laughter died before it even started. Then he said it half-whispered, but loud enough for the room to hear. "You know how these diversity hires are." I couldn't speak. He just smiled and walked to the front of the room. But his laptop wouldn't connect to the projector. The cable didn't match. He cursed under his breath, dug through his bag for an adapter he didn't have, and I stood up. "I have a backup," I said. Walked to the spare Lenovo the client had sitting there, plugged in my flash drive and clicked. Slide popped up. Clean. Branded. Animated. I didn't wait for permission. I started presenting. I talked directly to the room, explained the product, showed how it would integrate with their existing systems, pulled up the custom demo, and ran through the simulation. I had stats for everything. I'd done the research. About 10 minutes in, the execs started leaning forward. By 20, 2 of them had turned their chairs toward me and away from Dave. He tried to cut in at one point, saying something like, "What Noel means to say is..." One of the execs cut him off. "No, we get it," he said. I kept going. At the end, I wrapped with a slide showing a side-by-side ROI comparison and said, "You don't need a complete overhaul. You need a smarter system built on your actual process flow." That got a nod and a handshake from the VP himself. Dave looked like a ghost. That night, I got an email from Sarah, the strategy analyst. Turns out she was actually the director of strategy. The note was short. "Your supervisor's comment was unacceptable. You held yourself with absolute professionalism. We've already reached out to your executive team. I hope to speak with you directly on the next call." I didn't reply. Not yet. Friday came. I kept my head down and did my work. Dave didn't speak to me once. He didn't even look at me. Around noon, people in the office started whispering. I caught pieces. HR called him in. Something about that Orville meeting. He was red as a tomato walking out. By 3 o'clock, he was gone for the day. Left early. No goodbye. That weekend, I kept checking my email. Nothing from HR. Nothing from the execs. Just the echo of what he said in that room still stuck in my head. "Don't worry, folks. She's just here for decoration." I didn't sleep much that Sunday night. When I walked into the office at 8:30, his office door was open. But everything inside was gone. No laptop, no framed golf photos, not even the stupid motivational poster he had up. Just an empty desk and a chair. By 10 o'clock, a company-wide email hit. Effective immediately, Dave Grayson is no longer with Coretrace. We wish him the best in his future endeavors. No reason given. No details. But people knew. 10 minutes later, I got called into the VP's office. The VP of sales, a guy named Greg, motioned for me to sit. He looked tired. Serious. We received a formal complaint from Orville's executive team. They had a lot to say about Dave's behavior. They also had a lot to say about your presentation, about how you took control under pressure, and how they want you as their direct point of contact. I nodded, not saying anything yet. Greg leaned forward. "We want to move you into a leadership role, starting immediately, acting lead on strategic accounts." I stared at him. I could feel my hands shaking. He added, "This isn't a diversity thing. This is a performance thing. That deal's going to close, Noel. Because of you." I left his office in a daze. That afternoon, HR scheduled a transition meeting. They wanted me to take over Dave's accounts and step in on client calls he used to handle. That's when I found something strange. In one of Dave's old folders left behind on the shared drive, there was a file marked FY Reports, Internal Only. I clicked. Inside, notes. Personal notes. About me. Not a good cultural fit. Talks too much during calls. Needs softening, might upset conservative clients. One line stood out. Keep her off leadership track. Risk of HR complaints if promoted. He'd been sabotaging me. Writing fake coaching notes. Warning other managers about me. Making it look like I wasn't ready for promotion. And no one questioned it. I saved the file. Printed it. Took it home. I wasn't just angry, I was shaking. Not because I was surprised, but because it confirmed something I had felt for a long time. That someone was holding me back on purpose. Now I had proof. But I didn't go straight to HR. Instead, I asked around. Quietly. I talked to Maya in accounting, she'd been at the company 5 years. I talked to Terrence in product design, who always looked uncomfortable around Dave. I even talked to Julia from marketing, who never liked me much but knew how to read a room. All of them said the same thing. Yeah, Dave didn't like strong women. He said you were too intense to clients. He told us not to bother bringing you into high-level meetings. I started realizing how much damage he'd done behind my back. He didn't just talk over me, he was building a wall around me, shaping how others saw me even before they met me. And now I was supposed to just sit in his old chair and pretend none of it happened? No. On Wednesday, I got a call from someone I didn't expect, Sarah from Orville. The one who sent me the thank you email after the pitch. She didn't waste time. "I know this is awkward," she said. "But can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Did your supervisor ever make comments like that before?" I was quiet for a second. You mean the diversity hire comment? Yeah. Or anything like it. I sighed. He did. A lot. Just never that loud. She took a breath. That's what I thought. You should know. He also sent us a follow-up email after the pitch. Said you were nervous and spoke out of turn. Tried to downplay everything you did. My jaw clenched. Sarah went on. We forwarded that email to your execs. With the video. I blinked. What video? Turns out Orville's boardroom was recorded for quality control and documentation. They had it all. Dave's joke. His whisper. My presentation. The whole shift in the room. That's why the company moved so fast. That's why he was gone without warning. On Friday I got an anonymous email.
No sender.
No subject. Just one sentence. Careful who you trust, this company doesn't protect people like you. And attached? A screenshot of one of my old LinkedIn posts. A post from a year ago where I had talked about being the only black woman in a tech team. Something that got a lot of traction at the time. I didn't know what it meant at first. Then I checked Slack. People were talking. Some were saying I used the race card to get promoted. Others were saying I went behind Dave's back and embarrassed the company. The Whisper campaign had started again, only now. It was directed at me. Dave was gone. But someone else had picked up the torch. By the next Monday, things had changed. People didn't look me in the eye like they used to. Some avoided me completely. One guy who used to always chat me up in the kitchen just nodded and walked past me like we'd never spoken. I knew what was happening. Dave might have left the building, but he still had friends there. And some of them didn't like seeing someone like me in that seat, especially not after how it happened. That night I went home and pulled out every document I had. Emails, notes, screenshots, the HR complaint, the video Orville sent me, even the feedback I'd gotten from other clients where Dave had taken credit for my work. I sent one email. Subject line, hostile environment and leadership misconduct. Formal complaint and evidence packet. I didn't send it to HR. I sent it to the CEO and CC'd legal and the board. That same night, I got a call from the CEO's office. Not an assistant him. He asked if I could come in the next morning early. I said yes. When I walked into the CEO's office, Greg, VP of Sales, was already there. His face looked stiff. I handed over a folder and sat down. The CEO spoke first. I've reviewed the material. It's a lot. I didn't speak. He went on. We failed you. Not just with Dave, but with the people who let him act unchecked. We failed to listen when you raised concerns. I still didn't speak. I wanted to hear what came next. Greg finally cleared his throat. I should have seen what was happening. I didn't want to believe it, because Dave made us money. But that doesn't excuse anything. I nodded once. The CEO looked me in the eye. We want you to stay. But if you do, it needs to be as more than just acting lead. I raised an eyebrow. You'll take his role. Director of Sales. Full authority. Your call on team structure. And any formal retaliation you find, you bring it straight to me. That got my attention. Do I get to clean house? I asked. He gave a small nod. Start where you need to. I didn't waste time. First, I called in every team member who had supported the Whisper campaign. Not to yell. Not to threaten. I just showed them the evidence. Slack messages. Comments. A few apologized. A few quit on the spot. Then I rebuilt the team. Promoted people who had been stepped on for years. Brought in outside hires with real experience, not just golf buddies and college roommates. And HR? The woman who brushed off my complaint 6 months earlier? Gone. Replaced with someone who actually understood bias and didn't sweep it under the rug. 3 weeks later, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was Dave. Congrats on the promotion. Just know you didn't win anything. You just played the game dirtier than me. I stared at the screen. I didn't reply, but I did send a screenshot to Sarah at Orville. She texted back one sentence. We just sent that to his new employer. Thanks. Turns out Dave had managed to get a sales job at another tech firm. Not anymore. Looking back, I should have spoken up sooner. I let things slide for too long. Let him undermine me quietly. Let him talk over me, steal my ideas, mock me in meetings. I stayed silent because I didn't want to be that woman. But silence didn't protect me. It just let him get bolder. So yeah, I made a mistake. But I fixed it. Publicly. And I never let another Dave speak for me again. Now, when I walk into a room, no one asks why I'm there. They already know.